Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Oldsmar City Council meeting of February 6, 2018 to order. If you'll please rise for our invocation and our pledge. They'll be led by our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Heavenly Father, we ask for God's help to give our individual and collective gifts to our community, to regularly refurbish our intentions, to give of ourselves in ways that make a difference to our families, to our city, to our nation. To keep our wits during times replete with distractions and political uncertainty, to maintain our focus with determination, and to fuel our work with vigor, stamina, and a hearty spirit. For all of this and a few doses of good luck and grace, we give our thanks. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, welcome. We're hoping this might be a quick meeting tonight, but as soon as I say that, I probably have jinxed us, and it will be the longest in history. So, our first item tonight is our citizens open forum. We only have a couple of rules that you state your name and address clearly for the record. You keep it to no more than 5 minutes, and you are able to speak towards anything on the agenda. However, if you are speaking on public hearing item number 9, we just ask that you hold it until we get to that item on the agenda. Having said that, we'll start with this side of the room. Anybody like to address the council? Yes? Tony?
Gross, 711 Sand Leaf Avenue.
Michelle Carey, 708 Bayside Boulevard.
Welcome.
That was a great prayer, by the way, especially the doses of good luck, watching the stock market. So, Michelle and I are here tonight, and we just wanted to kind of give you an update. Craig and I went before the Veterans Advisory Board January the 22nd and requested that Gold Star families of the fallen be allowed to speak briefly at the 2018 Memorial Day ceremony. And our requests included giving each of the board members a list of Gold Star family members who would be honored and blessed to be able to speak. So that's what Michelle is passing out right now. So it is our hope that the Veterans Advisory Board will indeed invite a Gold Star family member to speak at the 2018 Memorial Day ceremony. And we are grateful that Felicia has once again extended the invitation for us to set up a display table at the Memorial Day ceremony. Any questions or comments?
No. One of these guys, I heard it's, I can't remember if it's the second guy or one of them.
Del Castillo, he did speak at the Fallen Soldiers Battlefield Cross ceremony when Boy Scout Johnny Rucker dedicated that.
Okay,
He did speak briefly.
Okay, I knew the
Yes.
name looked familiar.
He's also the, I think, vice president of
Gold Star Fathers.
Gold Star Fathers and board member. And I think he is a vice president of marketing with Spectrum as well.
Oh, that's, okay, that too.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yes.
You mentioned when I was walking up that there was another family that lived here in Oldsmar. If you're able to find out who that is, would love to have their contact information too. It would always be great too to also hear from another family that lives here.
It's the Petty family.
Okay.
And I think that it's a wife, and I think that she prefers privacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Yep.
Andrew Knapp, 314 Vista Cruiser Lane. As part of Hayes Park Village. I'm a board member on the HOA there at Hayes Park, and as our neighborhood has continued to fill out, we've had growing concerns with one of the lots that butts up to the neighborhood on the southern end. It's, you guys may be familiar with it, it's 250 Douglas Road. Just basically a junkyard, and it's been that way for years on end, so I don't know what the status of it is. I think I've heard that there's like liens or something like that on it, and just seems to be kind of a nuisance. It's
Okay.
an eyesore to see, but
I think I know. Do you know any background on that, Al?
I think
Is it
John,
250 Douglas?
Yes.
yeah,
Just at the far western end of Douglas, just south of Hayes Park Village. It butts up to it, so there's a lot, and then there's kind of a landlocked lot that doesn't actually have an address.
We have a huge lien on it, so.
Okay.
We're actually having a workshop on Friday about kind of code enforcement, and so council can get up to speed. And
Okay.
just one of the things to discuss is liens and things like that, so. How long has that been?
there is a, if it is James Pasco's property, which I think it is, there is about $100,000 final judgment against him when the city prevailed in the case that he filed against the city. And I think it's well over $100,000 for the code enforcement lien. But remember, this is homesteaded property. He lives there.
Right.
And so we can't foreclose that property because it's protected under the Florida Constitution.
Sure.
So we're well aware of it.
This has only been going on for 20 years, okay?
Right.
Probably, 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's, if you want to share that information.
Okay, yeah, we have a meeting coming up, so I'll be able to kind of relay that to them to see that there's kind of some ongoing progress.
And as our attorney indicated, when it's homesteaded, we're really kind of,
Tough.
our hands are tied to do anything, so.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? We almost had everybody on this side. This side of the room?
There's the ladies.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep. It's up to you two then.
My name is Ann Teets. I live at 411 Park Boulevard. I have a little problem with the construction going on next to me. For one thing, when they surveyed, they never bothered to put 4 flags up around our property, which would, the back part. My lot is not straight across at the back. It slants. And because it slants, they say, oh, well, we know where it is. I went to the city. Steve said, oh, there are 3 metal stakes there. Well, that helps a lot when they're buried, because I still can't see where it is, and neither can they. But Willie Wilvera, who's the project manager, tells me he knows exactly where it is, but they still put the black paper up on our side of the thing.
Just for my reference, are you talking about the condos going on at the
Family
corner?
townhouse is
Okay.
right there on Safety
Okay.
Park.
Plus, I said they had the bulldozer in our backyard, and Steve said, well, how do you know? And I said, well, I saw it, and he left big ruts, and then he had to try to get down a tree, and I thought he was going to take out our pool pump, but he didn't. He just took out part of the hedge, and it's a mess, and it has lowered our property value considerably. And the fact that they're going to build 13 more units, all of them 3-story, is not going to help our property at all. So also, I would like a fence all the way around, and not just a cheapie, but I'd like a nice fence up one side and down the back, because that'll take me, I don't want people from their place that are walking to walk over into my yard. They cut down all the trees, so I have no privacy, because we didn't plant trees because we didn't know we were going to have to, so. And also the parkway in front, that it wasn't Tico, it was whoever they hired to put in the underground stuff, has totally dug it up and put it in a mess, as is the middle of the median on Park Boulevard, which they have not done anything to. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, just for some information, this particular project has been on the books for
10 years?
10, oh, no, longer
Probably
than
longer
10
than that.
years.
06, they were planning to do this.
Well,
weren't they?
I was mayor when they first came in.
Oh, that's back in the 50s then, right?
I'm not that old.
There you go.
Evidently, I am. So just for information, that project's been going on for about 20 years. But can't we send somebody down there, Al, and tell them to mark the thing and get off their property?
Oh, I'm sure.
Man,
They
you
put
referring
the
to
other
Steve, you
3
referring to our
flags.
Steve?
That's what I was going to ask the same question.
Yeah.
They put the other 3 flags up, but they didn't bother to put a flag on the back corner, which is the long one,
Well, Al can take care of
next to that long lot that's in the blocks here in Oldsmar.
Do we know if that, I don't remember if that
Site
site
plan?
plan had a fence
I don't
around it
remember
or
either.
anything?
So long ago.
We'll have to take a
No,
look.
this has been 20, 25
Well, I
years.
mean, when it came, I mean, when he came before, when they started construction, I don't
Oh,
recall. if there
also,
was-
did we have variances? Because they are suddenly building way out front, and we were told we couldn't build any farther than 25 feet.
We're taking notes.
Look into it,
We're
man.
taking,
I'll be-
Because I never saw a sign out front that said, if you know, we're going to do this, if, come to the meeting, if you object, there was never anything out there.
Well, see, those meetings were so, back when I was a little boy.
Yeah, but they didn't have the money to do it back then.
the economy went pear-shaped, so, yeah.
I did notice the median too. I'm surprised you didn't make a comment, because you usually put it good about that, but I didn't realize it was from that construction. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if we were doing something, but the median right across from our house has, for over a month, looked like
From across from your house?
Across from her house on Park Boulevard.
It's
right-
been longer than a month.
Yeah, it's been a
whenever they
while.
put it under the street,
Yeah.
the
Like all
electric line,
All the,
Well,
because
Al
we're
can
having
take care of
buried
that, too.
electric lines.
I'm surprised, because you're usually pretty good.
I know,
about
and I
it.
drive that street all the time.
Yeah, you almost have to be walking it. If you're, when I
Oh.
would walk the dog, I know, and I thought, what are they doing there? But
Okay, we're taking notes, so,
Okay, and my neighbor across the street said she'd called several times about the median being torn up.
okay.
She's the one that has the big transformer box in her front yard.
Let's clear one other thing up for her. Tom, can we require them to put a fence?
If it's not on the site plan,
which we're not sure.
and we're not really sure at this point,
I
we
don't
can't
know.
force them to add a fence.
According to my son-in-law, the site plan has a sidewalk for the one that's facing that way at the back of us, going right along our lot line.
We'll look into that.
Well, if it's going right along the lot line, it's going to have to slant.
We'll make sure that it's built pursuant to the plans. We have inspectors that will do that.
Okay, thank you.
See, I have the same lot like you have. It goes like that.
Skewed, yeah. Okay,
I just don't want them any closer than I have to have them.
yeah, thank you. Anybody else on this side? Almost the whole side of the room. This side? Yes, Judy? Watch that guy so he doesn't trip you. I said watch it so he doesn't trip you.
You bet I won't trip.
By the way, it's his birthday today.
I was gonna say that.
He ruined
Sorry.
He ruined my council.
Oh, he's just chiming in all over. I'll just go down there. You wanna sit down here?
I just mentioned, I just found out today, so I just mentioned it. Happy birthday.
You figured that out from all the time you were spending on Facebook, isn't it?
No, he figured out today from me.
Well, to the better half of the blacks.
There you go.
Judy Black, 2010 Hudson Court. This newsletter that comes in the utility bill, there is an apartment complex up Pine, and there may be other houses where the water is included in the rent, so they don't get
Oh,
this. And they have no idea what all is going on there. There are kids that live there, and I've always said that when I first got here, that if you get a credit card bill in the mail and there's something for whatever, you just pitch it. And it took me a while to learn that this was a valuable piece. But I feel like the people, at least in the apartment complex, should get a copy of this if you have to mail it to them, or...
Well, I don't think we can, well, they have a master meter, that's why they don't get a bill.
and I think Hayes Park does too, right? You don't get a water bill too, so Ann, do you know how we address that? Maybe we can get with the chamber too. Do we get them anything like for their clubhouse or?
Well, that's why we created the Experience Oldsmar catalog, and we've been delivering those at the master meter communities.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't hear.
We have a thing that we develop, Experience Oldsmar, and for the master community, we deliver those to them so that they know what's going on, right? That it's kind of a,
Leisure Services catalog.
I have one here. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yes.
He is always on top of everything, isn't that amazing? God.
So we can get those. Do you get that at Hayes Park? Okay.
Yeah, it's newer though, but I wonder if we could maybe
We'll look
deliver
into it.
something to post in
We'll look
there.
at, yeah, I don't know.
And,
They have a website, we can send them a
Yeah.
PDF or something. Okay.
and do they have, is that delivered to all door to door, or people have to go to the apartment office, or?
It's not delivered door to door, I'm sure of
That's
that.
why we have the app, but not everyone will.
What do we do
have
with the experience pamphlets?
Well, it's Leisure Services that delivers them, but they probably just deliver them to the offices
office.
to.
To the office, Ms. Black.
to distribute.
Then do they know to go there to find it?
That one I couldn't tell you, but
Yeah.
we can certainly make an
See.
effort for that.
Yeah, we'll try and work on that, for sure.
Okay,
Good idea.
thank
Especially
you
where the
very
kids are up
much.
in there. Yeah, there's a lot of kids up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy.
Anybody else? Birthday boy? We're not singing.
Thank you, Gary.
I had it written too, Gabby did too, so you weren't getting away. We're not singing though, so. Not till you're 100.
I'm Steve Gator Black, 2010 Hudson Court, here in the beautiful city of Oldsmar. I've got several things to talk about this evening. I'm going to hurry through them all, except the poems. We're going to hang on the poems. The library is having an old-fashioned ice cream social, and that's going to be the 24th of February. Unfortunately, that's going to be the same afternoon as the BMX Gator Nationals, but this is from, starts at 2 o'clock at Tico Hall, and if you get tired of sitting out in the sun, come down and get a bowl of ice cream. And mountains, mountains, and mountains of toppings, and I've got several flyers here for anyone that wants one.
Dan will be there.
Dan will probably be there.
Also, April is the National Library Week, and we're going to be honoring a volunteer from the library and another citizen. So that might be something to look for in the near future. On the 15th of March, we're going to have an author's night, again, another one. And we've got several more authors this time, and we're doing a little different format. So if you're interested in meeting the authors, come on out.
Can I join that?
You'll have to talk to the library.
Okay.
They're the ones that are taking care of the registration.
All right.
Okay, and I've already said the ice cream social. Okay. Now, a while back, last year, I guess, I gave a challenge to the city council, and everyone's sitting to write a poem. And I'm going to read 4 of them tonight, mainly because that's all I got. And count how many people there are, and no pressure.
Excuse me, I think your time is up.
We know one of them that didn't get submitted.
Okay, this was a poem from a list of words, and everyone got the same list. And this one is from Dan Saraki. And the poem says, red, white, and blue, freedom for me and you. Many flags fly for liberty, banners of stars for hope and peace. We honor our nation's stars and the red, white, and blue. And that was a good poem.
Like a
Well
firing
done, Paul.
squad here. Do they go from good to worse?
That was evil.
This one,
Like a good roast.
this one, thankfully, Gabby outlined the list of words in her poem. And it says, beneath the stars, the banners too, beneath the red, the white, the blue. I'm sorry, I can't read that.
It's been a while, so I can't recite it.
Our houses adorned with Christmas trees, underneath them lined with gifts we don't need. Our once indivisible nation represented liberties.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
Stand up.
hate to do this. I normally read these 3 or 4 times to make sure I've got it.
Okay. Gabby McGee, City Council Member, 101 Buckingham Avenue West.
That's a first.
Beneath the stars, the banners too, beneath the red, the white, the blue, our houses adorned with Christmas trees, underneath them lined with gifts we don't need, our once indivisible nation represented, liberty's justice and a hope for all, now built upon depletion and destruction to support mindless consumerism at the mall. I know it's with harsh words I speak and ones that I myself must also eat. In order to feed our tired, our poor, let us not hold out our hands, yet hold open our doors. I ask now for God's will and divine intervention to come down upon our frustrated nation, to remind us all that freedom isn't free, to hold each other close, not what's under the Christmas tree. Teach us how to give, to love, and walk with humility. Instill peace in our hearts. Give us some resemblance of civility. Lord, hear my prayer.
Thanks, very good. Now, this one, I have unfortunately lost the author's name on here.
Well, there's only 2 left.
Whoever wants to claim it can. This is called Stand Up, Stand Up. Just a piece of cloth hooked to a rope. Maybe so, but to many it's a symbol of hope. The flag of our nation is more than a banner, though some want to treat it in a disrespectful manner. Our stars and stripes, the red, white, and blue, many have died for, and to them honor is due. Our peace and liberty are gifts surely divine. The freedom not to stand is yours and mine. Just what is the origin of taking a knee? Is that any resemblance of, oh, say, can you see? What is represented when players don't behave? Let that star-spangled banner yet wave. Now, I apologize for not knowing who wrote that.
We know who read the next one, then we know.
But I think,
Well, I think a few
I
others
think
submitted maybe.
I think
that was,
that you?
I think a few other people
Mine's much
submitted, I
shorter.
thought.
I think that was Jerry.
Yeah.
Me?
You wrote that.
No, I didn't write that one. Nope.
Well, oh, I know. I'm sorry. That was Ken Sidorovich.
Oh,
Okay, I knew a few people.
I apologize for that. I put names on all these things and took them off before I got up here. Good deal. Okay, this is from Eric. This is called Our Hometown. We live in a place where liberty and honor is still represented, a place where we pay respect to our nation and our pride is openly vented. Here, our divine origin is celebrated. A resemblance of time we embrace is not dated. In Oldsmar, words like peace, freedom, and hope we hold true. Our hometown stands with our banner, the stars flying above, the red, white, and blue. And I think for a bunch of rookies, you guys did pretty good. We'll wait for the other few to turn in theirs.
You got mine, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't know where it is. I did that on purpose because I knew you were going to say something about my birthday, Jerry. No, I've got it in my folder, I think, but I don't want to.
it was so good, he didn't want to share it, so.
I'm going to wait till he forgets about it, and I'm going to put my name on it.
It ain't gonna happen, Fran.
Thanks. Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody in the room like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the citizens open forum. Next, we'll do a quick mayor's minute with a couple of recaps and upcoming events. Obviously, Gator's birthday. One of the events we do is We Mean Business. It's a monthly visit by the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce, the city manager, or this time it was the assistant city manager, and myself. In January, we visited Mentech Corporation, which was very interesting. They do inventory control. Their largest client is Marriott, inventory for everything from their air conditioning chillers and maintenance on them worldwide. So it's pretty neat that they do that right here. Pino's Palette, we visited there, DSC Sales, which is, if you ever go into, I think it's Eckerd or CVS and Walgreens, and you see the end cap with all the inflatables for the pool and the Funyuns and everything related to the beach, that's all done out of that warehouse. And I think they're starting on a 20,000 square foot, I think, addition that the council approved, something like that. So they're adding even more. Also, Missing Middle, it was a discussion panel and walking tour of Hayes Park Village. It was hosted by the Suncoast section of the Florida chapter of APA. Great presentation on multi-unit, low-rise housing, informative on where it should go and what local communities like Oldsmar are doing to encourage it. The New York Red Bulls, if you haven't heard, were in town. They just left on Saturday. It was great having the New York Red Bulls training. It's an MLS pro soccer team here in Oldsmar Sports Complex. I attended a few practices, scrimmages, went and watched the game against the Philadelphia Union. The New York Red Bulls won 4-3. It was also great having them interact with our youth soccer. That was really the important part to us, was to share that experience with Oldsmar Youth Soccer. Spent some time with the players and coaches, and hopefully we can work out a deal for them to come back. Interestingly enough, Oldsmar Youth Soccer has a 19-year-old player on Oldsmar Youth Soccer. The New York Red Bulls have a 17 and an 18-year-old on the team, so pretty interesting. I was looking through today, Al's looked through a lot of homegrown players that hopefully we might be able to develop a relationship. They do it through an academy, and so they bring these kids up from youth and sign them onto their team. So it was great. So they were super nice. Casa Costanza, the Italian restaurant, hosted a dinner for the team, all the team and coaches. So that was very nice of a local business. They were just really thankful for the hospitality that was provided. Now they went back home, and then they go to Arizona for a tournament. Upcoming events, the Holiday Sharing Fund Bike Rodeo. That's Saturday, February 17th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's at the end of Pine Avenue, the cul-de-sac down by the rec center. Free bike and helmet inspections, free helmets if needed, bike obstacle course, and pizza and drinks. Also, Oldsmar Cares in the park. That's Sunday, February 18th, 2 to 6 p.m. at RE Olds Park. Free entry vendors and raffles to benefit Oldsmar Cares. And I think that's put on by Microlumen, is it? Is Microlumen the one putting it on? I think they're involved with that. Also, the holiday closure, Monday, February 19th. All city offices, facilities, libraries will be closed for President's Day. Al will probably still be here. USA BMX Gator Nationals, that is coming up, as Gator mentioned, Friday, February 23rd, Saturday the 24th, and Sunday the 25th at the Oldsmar Sports Complex. If you haven't been out there, it's a great time. In 2016, the two riders, male and female, that won the Gator Nationals went on to Rio de Janeiro and won the Olympic gold medal. So kind of neat that quality rider comes through the city of Oldsmar. We have riders from all over the world that come and join us here. Free electronics and chemical mobile collection, Saturday, February 24th, 9 to 2 at the North County Satellite Site. That's on US 19, just south of Home Depot. I've mentioned this before, that they do a great job, and you just basically pull in and they route you right where you need to go and unload you fairly quickly. I've gotten paint and electronics and everything there. So that's all I have on the mayor's minute. So we will move on to our agenda. We have nothing in the CRA. Our consent docket, we have a couple of items. I'll read those. Approve the minutes of the January 16th, 2018 City Council meeting. Also approve the request to waive bid requirements and authorize purchase of a mobile pump package from Xylem, is that how you say that? Dewatering Solutions, Goodwin Pumps of Lakeland, Florida, under the Florida Sheriff's Association contract FSA 17-VEH15.0. Authorize the city manager to advertise an invitation to bid 2018-003-ITB for Woodland Square lift station replacement. And final is approve the tentative agenda for February 20th, 2018. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And as I say that about the minutes, I want to acknowledge that Kathy Horvath, our deputy city clerk, is not here tonight. She's going to be out for a couple of weeks. She had some surgery today, and so keep her in her thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery. So next is the City of Oldsmar. First item is presentation of the Employee Service Award, and Mr. Al Braithwaite will do that.
Thank you, sir. Tonight's service award goes to one of my former employees, Ms. Deb Deschamps. Deb, you're up. You just pronouncing that for 15 years?
You're the city manager. She's still your employee.
Hello. Hi, Deb. Who'd you bring with you? You brought family.
My sister and my brother.
You're gonna bring them up?
They like.
Up to them, but okay. Welcome. Oh, I suppose I should give you this. Money, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
Award, congratulations.
We'll hold it for you.
Sorry, I got a big mouth.
Oh,
How are you? I'm Al.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, nice to meet you.
I'm Jim.
Jim, nice to meet you. Deb's been with us for 15 years. She was hired on January 22nd, 2003, and she was hired as an accounting clerk. Now, most people in finance are much happier when you don't know anything about them, you never see them, you never hear them, they're not in the paper. That's when things are going right. And Deb's job, we could best define as probably being thankless. She, very quiet, sits in her office and pays the bills. That's the woman right there, she pays the bills. Everything we put out goes through Deb.
I know what you're all buying.
Very true, very true. Now, it's a simple title, accounting clerk, but it's not a simple job. I was reflecting a little bit, and Cindy and I, Deb's been with us almost as long as Cindy and I have been here, and I told Cindy when we first started, which was 18 years ago, that in the first 3 years, we had hired 4 accounting clerks. And we got to Deb, and we had this conversation a couple of times about saying, we would consider ourselves extremely lucky if we could keep an accounting clerk for 2 years. We just thought that would be great. Well, Deb's been with us for 15 and solved a huge problem for us because that continuity is vital to our everyday operations. I have a couple of examples of hopefully something that would prove that. I would consider her job one of the hardest in the organization. And you want to draw a parallel, think of the mail. The more you process, the more you get. You think you got on top of it, here comes some more. It never ends. It never ends. Would I be safe in saying that? Okay. You need a steady hand. You need to be thorough in details, especially in follow-up. You send things back to departments. That always makes you popular. You send things back to vendors. Man, we don't care about being popular with them so much. And you got to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Now, Deb has an additional skill, not one that she particularly liked, but we have made most of our employees cross-train in utility billing. I'm here to tell you tonight that we did that on purpose because we figured after a couple of hours down there, her job looked a whole lot better. It's out now, Deb. That's why we do that. I did. So if you need any measure of how much she has missed, just watch what happens anytime she's out more than a couple of days. We do 1 check run per week. Who wants to process invoices this week? Watch them scatter. Everybody runs. Deb's, as I call her, is from Long Island. That's where I'm from, although I think we've both been here about 40 years. And she lives in Dunedin. You've met her family. She's a vital member of the administrative services team. We'd like to congratulate her and thank her for 15 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Oldsmar. Here's to 15 more. Congratulations, Deb.
The past couple of tough years, and the rest was easy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. We got a picture.
Come on.
Photo op.
Mayor, you're about to be in the
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah. There you go. It helps if I turn it on.
Let's go.
Yeah. So that photo's for you.
Al said in probably most cases, it's a thankless job. It ain't a thankless job here in the city of Oldsmar.
Yeah.
We thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
an incredible department.
I don't know if you know this, but she still is your employee. I thought
She
maybe you're.
doesn't have to listen to every word I say anymore. Oh, wait. Do you still hear everything I say? On the other side of the building, and I'm told there's still some of that.
The Chamber of Commerce hears you. Next item is consider the appointment of Ricard Smith as an alternate member of the Veterans Advisory Board. Are you here? Yep. We were narrowing down who, yeah, come on up.
Okay. Card Smith, 703 Lafayette Boulevard.
You look a lot shorter sitting down. Holy cow. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my dad was in the Air Force for 21 years, so I followed him all around the world. And when I graduated high school, he kicked me out and sent me to the Air Force Academy.
Nice. Thank you for that, both of you.
And I did 21 years in the Air Force, going all over the world as a pilot. And we ended up moving down here to Florida in 2010 after I retired. And we moved here to Oldsmar in 2012. We just love this place.
Great, great. And what makes you want to be on the Veterans Board other than your past service?
I just want to do something to give back to veterans and stuff like that, because there's a lot of veterans in this area, and we live right across from the park.
Okay.
So we go to all the events over there.
Okay.
And I just really enjoy what you guys do in the city, the council and everything. I would just love to be part of that and to help out.
Well, good. Well, thank you for doing that. And if you've been there, we continue to improve on the events that go on over there and the quality and the speakers. And it's just a phenomenal park. For those that haven't ever been there, they're missing out on a great park. So
Oh, it's a great system you guys have. All the Veterans Day, Labor Day, or Memorial Day, and all that stuff. I just love it.
thank you. Well, thank you for your.
Are you
thank
going
for
to,
your service.
are you going to have Mr. Smith sing at the traditional?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Wait, no, it's all happened, okay?
Wait, I'm sorry. That's not for the alternates yet.
No.
So you have this to look for.
You have the singing to look forward to if we appoint you.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Either you can write a poem, one or the other.
I think I'll do the poems.
Let me ask you a question.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your and your father's service and for wanting to be a part of the Veterans Board.
Jerry was in the midst of a comment.
Oh, again, shock. Yes? I'm sorry, I apologize, sir. I didn't mean to cut you off. Just trying to run a meeting over here.
He loves it when he cuts me off. He just, well, one reason why the city of Oldsmar is a wonderful place to live is because people like you that move here.
Yep.
Now, what did you fly?
Blue C-130s.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
For stepping up. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. And we appreciate it. Now, and you get to come to our lovely dinner that we do for the volunteers. And I say this then, and I'll say it now, that we wouldn't be able to function as a city without the volunteers and the great volunteers that we have. And you'll notice when you get to the appreciation dinner that we have some that have done 20, 30, 35 years on various boards or on one board. So some of them are better than others, but this one's a good one too. So thank you for.
I'm hoping I can give something back and enjoy it.
Good, thank you. If there's no other questions, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye, thank you. And the reason we do this is because most of them that have already been on a board, we sometimes know, but we were trying to figure out which agenda item you were here for, so.
Now you have that whole section.
And now you actually
The whole
spoke.
side's been up here now.
Yeah, with the exception of our writer and our staff, yeah, so the whole section. Good, thank you. Next item is the presentation of the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and I will do that. Cindy Nano, if you will come.
You finally got that right.
You can bring your whole team too if you want.
Finance for the whole team.
I forget where I was at. Was that one of the boards that I served on, and I can't remember which it was, but they were so proud because they had just gotten their first medallion. And I said, I think we've got a whole plaque full of them, and you'll find that they are very heavy. So I'll go ahead and read it, and then you can introduce your staff that's here. and then tell us a little bit about this award. It's the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, presented to the city of Oldsmar, Florida, signed by some guy, I can't read his name. So if you'll tell us about it and introduce your staff.
Okay, the Government Finance Officers Association is the national organization for government accountants, so it's kind of our organization. And what this award does is every year we submit our annual financial statements, which, did we bring that? Forgot to
I
bring
can get
it.
it on my iPad.
Our annual financial report, we submit it for this award program. There's a stack of, it's like a booklet that they have to go through different criteria that it has to meet. They make sure that we've met all the new GASB pronouncements. Everything's got to be done just right. We have to have a clean audit opinion. And anyway, we got it. It's number 26. We're very proud of it.
That's right, that's 26 in a row. So-
In a row, 26 more.
And not every city gets this, right? I mean, this is not something that everybody gets, so.
No.
And who's here with you?
Okay, we have Garrett Zieloff. He's the interim finance administrator. We have Amy Ratliff. She's the accounting manager. Sandy Winkler. She is the budget and financial analyst. Deb Deschamps, accounting clerk. And John Dauphiné, our newest member. He's the accounting technician.
Also, Paula. Huh?
And Paula, she's taking pictures. She's our senior admin assistant. You can get up here too, Paula. She's helping us with our current year CAFRA.
Awesome, that's great. Well, congratulations. I'll
Thank
give
you.
This thing weighs a ton.
Low. Garrett, move your head.
And we hope that Garrett hasn't jinxed us, right, Garrett? He's already committed to filling up the other side of that plaque.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
While they're sitting down, you're moving on. Having just been up in Tallahassee, I know Vice Mayor was up there, and some of the proposals from the legislature comes across as pretty tough on cities, right? And you read them, and a lot of it has to do with some of the inaccuracies or
lack of
transparency from the cities. And a lot of it is geared, more towards the CRA end, but just in general. Because when you read through a lot of it, as it relates to new disclosures, we already do this. And we do this stuff, and we do it well. And so that's terrific work. Terrific work.
So we could probably solve Tallahassee's problems, go after all the cities that don't get that award, right?
Charge them a fee.
Right.
I see tax dollars.
Yeah.
Mayor, could I
Yes.
just add something?
Yes, please.
As most of you know, I'm a finance guy, been involved in government finance for 32 years. And I would say if this was a goal, that group right there is the reason I'm here.
That's awesome. Al used to run that department and
Well, I don't know if I would say that. Cindy runs the department. But I would say that team right there is,
that's awesome.
that's why I'm here.
But you put that team together.
Yes.
Again, Cindy put that team together, but thank you.
So if you mess up,
Cindy, you want to come sit up here?
Come on up, Al, sit down.
So, as Gabby said, if I screw up, we blame them.
I think that's where he was going.
It's actually selfish.
All right, next, I think, Nan, you're going to provide us an update on the Burbank Douglas Road project, as update as you can give us, I guess.
I'm Nan Bennett, Public Works Director, and I'm here to give you a status update on the Burbank and Douglas Road projects. It's been almost exactly a year since I gave the last comprehensive update, and right after I gave that update, we got some additional information that identified a conflict between our road plans and an existing Florida Gas and Transmission gas main. We spent several months trying to get that resolved. They are relocating their gas main. So as you've seen in the monthly reports and the quarterly reports, there's been some delay in the project. We've come here a couple of times in the last year to get some extension of some of our agreements to allow for that delay, but I think we're finally back on track. So we want to give you a status update, give you an idea what's coming up on several of these projects. So as things come before you, you'll have the background for that. So some of this may look familiar from last year. Okay, so the purpose of this project is to provide additional access and safety and capacity along Douglas and Burbank roads. This will help improve our entrance to the Cypress Lakes Industrial Park. It will add bus stops and extend the Oldsmar trail system through there for people that might want to get through there or get to work that way. It also will increase the safety and capacity by helping to repave and widen Douglas Road, improve the drainage in the area, and will add sidewalks, turn lanes, signage, and lighting. So the overall project, it's a fairly comprehensive project, has been broken into 3 phases for execution. The first phase being the Burbank Road extension, and that's to complete Burbank Road between Tampa Road and Douglas Road in a north-south direction, add another railroad crossing and access into the industrial park, and that is primarily funded by the State Economic Development and Transportation Projects Fund. Phase 2 is the Douglas Road Trail, which is the north side of Douglas Road. It will go from Hayes Road to Racetrack Road and will involve culverting the ditch and building the trail on top of that to provide the area to build the trail. And that's primarily a DOT local agency programs funded project. Phase 3 is the Douglas Road improvements, and that will go from Commerce to Racetrack Road, improving Douglas Road, and that will be a penny for Pinellas project.
Could you say that one? Oh, what's the third phase again?
It's the Douglas Road project, and it's from Commerce to Racetrack, and the roadway itself, actually improving Douglas Road.
Okay, that's going to be Commerce down to Douglas?
Yeah, there's a map here.
Okay.
And phase 3 is the yellow or golden color on there. That's the Douglas Road widening. Phase 1 is the blue north and south route, and that's the Burbank Road extension project. And phase 2 is the Douglas Road Trail, which is on the north side of Douglas Road, and primarily the trail improvements and drainage improvements. So I'd like to focus a minute on Burbank Road. That's phase 1. That's the one we've made the most progress on. As I told you last year, there's a number of considerations with this design. They include, adding the trail along Burbank Road, making sure there's sidewalk, adding the railroad crossing, stormwater considerations, the utilities, signage, and lighting.
Before you change that, I'd like everybody to look at that real close, that wonderful sign that we have out there that nobody ever sees, because it's only about that tall and about that wide.
Here's a little closer picture of the Burbank Road project limits, showing that from Tampa Road north, there's a portion of Burbank Road that's constructed. The portion that's going to extend up to Douglas across the railroad will mirror pretty much the same type of profile that's existing out there, 2 lanes. And
yeah, that was that between Tampa Road and the railroad tracks. We constructed that back in the early 90s, late 1900, when we did the Burbank drainage system.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, as long as there's sufficient funding, we plan to mill and overlay the existing portion so that it'll be nice continuous road throughout. Okay, we've been in front of you a couple of times in the last year to bring about agreements and have you extend those essentially because of the delays that we've experienced. So in September, we brought to you the Florida Department of Transportation Economic Development Transportation Fund Appropriations Extension, and that extended our funding agreement to June 30th, 2020. Back in June, we brought the stipulations of parties agreement to you for an extension. That's an agreement between CSX, DOT, and the city to open the roadway across the railroad tracks and to work in the railroad right away. And so that was extended to June 2020 as well. Okay, well, we've made some progress. Florida Gas and Transmission is redesigning their gas main and realigning it outside of the area where we need to build the crossing at the railroad. And so we have a consultant on board that's been working all along through this. We had a public meeting last January to address concerns and take comment from the people that live and work in, work in that area. Right. We have received the 90% design plans and commented on them and gotten those staff comments back to the consultant last month. And we anticipate in March getting our final design and contract documents. So we will be before you probably then, asking for permission to advertise bid, and then after we take the bids, permission to award that contract in April or to June. We're talking about doing that, and then hopefully by July we hope to be under construction finally.
Good.
And
with the winter finish.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you have any idea at all when the gas company is going to?
That was my question too.
Is going to do that, and if you don't, in the way they're dragging this thing out, I would ask Tom, is there anything we can do to make them hurry up?
I think that we've been trying to do that all along. Nana's been on top of it the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure she has, but
yeah.
Can we do anything?
They've sent me in an email that it's going to be May. That seems really quick, but
Wow.
I know
Well,
they.
if you add the entire time it's been going on, it's really not that quick.
Yeah.
So maybe they finally got to the project.
I've seen correspondence back and forth between them and CSX. Like us, they also have to permit their crossings of the CSX right away. And so there's been correspondence back and forth for their permit to cross the CSX right away. They're going to cross it a little bit further east, and so that they're not in conflict with what we're doing. But it does appear that they're on track to get the work done.
Track CSX.
No pun intended.
Well, do you feel confident that we're going to get it in May?
I will not commit to someone else's behavior.
Okay, I was afraid of that. Tom, is there anything we can do other than that?
I don't think that's something that we want to rush them in doing. We want to get the design done correctly. We want all the approvals. I'm not sure of anything that we could do to force that to go down any faster.
This thing is going back, this has been going on for years and years and years.
Yeah,
In fact, I thought I would pass away before it ever happened.
My biggest concern was the extension of the funding from the DOT, and we've gotten that because it's out of our control. It was a very, very shallow line is what we found, and they're deepening it and moving it, or?
They're realigning it, relocating it. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
They're actually moving it further to the east. Their line serves the Duke Energy peaking plant, and it comes down the Duke Energy easement, jumps out of the easement, goes down Douglas, comes down Burbank, crosses the railroad track, and then goes back to the east and gets back in the Duke Energy easement.
Wow.
They're going to cross the Duke Energy easement about at the railroad tracks. And then I'm losing, there's a paper street that we own, a 40-foot paper street, Chandler Street, there we go, that's just north of the railroad tracks, and then they're going to realign within the Chandler Street right away to bring their gas main up on the north side of the tracks, and then get back into the Burbank Road easement. They actually have a dedicated easement north of the railroad tracks that they purchased back in 1962.
Good. I don't think they knew that thing was that shallow either, from what I understood.
No, it was about 22 inches deep when we...
That could send a train car flying end of Safety Harbor.
That was in the ditch,
Yeah.
but there was only about 22 inches of cover.
Well, that was put in there back in the
60s.
early 60s, late 50s, because it used to go down Lafayette. Or Lafayette.
I think there is a gas main on Lafayette. I don't know if it's the same one.
I will say this, it was put in there. The mayor called 2 council people, didn't call 5 council people, and 3 council people okayed it, and the other 2 didn't know it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have strong hopes and plans to be done next year, before this time, about this time next year, completely with the construction
That's gonna be a great
on phase 1.
Yep.
Okay, so like I said, phase 1, we're finalizing the design. We're going to bid and construct that. Phase 2 is also moving along. That's the Douglas Road Trail portion. We have brought before the council previously the request to advertise for qualifications. We've taken qualifications, had a selection committee selected a consultant in Cardno Inc., negotiated a contract, and finally got DOT approval, and we hope to be back next meeting bringing you that agreement for the design of the Douglas Road Trail Phase 6 portion. So, and then Phase 3, the Douglas Road improvements, we're right now in the budgeting process, and we will be confirming and coordinating our plans for the funding for that portion as well.
Okay.
When we complete. I think that's it.
Let me ask you a quick, may I, Mayor, ask a question? Thank you. I don't know if any consideration has been put into this, but I think we should think, well, I'm sure everybody has thought about it. Commerce Boulevard is one of the main arteries now that coming in there. Of course, Tampa Racetrack Road is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
When this thing's opened up, has anybody studied to see how much traffic is going to use it?
You talking about the widened Douglas Road or the Burbank piece?
Burbank open.
Burbank coming out by McDonald's.
The
Well, I think
Burbank.
it's, well, that was
Could be
how,
a
that was
challenge.
one of the reasons we got the funding, was because it added an additional ingress egress.
Okay, do you know how much, now, you come down Commerce, you don't have a light, turn anywhere. Have we considered going after a light for this thing? Probably have, but they probably won't give it to us, but just something to think about.
We're meeting with DOT this week. They're doing a resurface project on Tampa Road from Curlew to St. Petersburg Drive. This is a little bit beyond St. Petersburg Drive, but we're going to take that opportunity to remind them of this project, and that, you know, we're going to increase traffic at that location and start putting that idea in their mind to start looking at, you know, will that need some kind of a light? They've got a lot of traffic considerations, the distance between other signals, things like that.
That's going to
They'll
be.
never do it.
Yep.
I don't think they'll do it either,
Never
but we
do
might
it.
as well.
We went through that at Bay Arbor trying to do it, and
Well, and the way they'll look at it is another point for traffic to get across, so it should help alleviate and spread it out some, guarantee you.
yeah,
Guarantee you. My office used to be right over there.
yeah.
And I know it can be difficult getting out of there now.
It
but-
is.
I'm going to bring up
They're
the
options.
difficulty of Commerce as well, because that's a very challenging
It is.
intersection to get in and out of. So we've got a list of concerns that we're going to bring to the DOT's attention while they're not only doing resurfacing, they're doing a little bit of traffic control, as some of you in Bay Arbor know, doing a little modification to try to make things safer and flow better. So we've got a list of items that we want to bring up to them, the right turn lane, north on Bayview, different issues like that are chronic problems for the city, and try to make the state aware of you know, how these things affect the city and its residents and businesses.
But that's still gonna be a terrific cut through.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
That'll be
it's gonna
huge.
be really good.
Directly to Andy's.
I mean, when I come out of there, I just go right down and, you know, do a U-turn in front of Bay Harbor.
Thank you for that.
I have
Legal,
I
yeah.
have a question. It's not related, but since you're here, where do we stand on this pedestrian overpass across Tampa Road? It's been a while since we've talked about it.
It's in the work plan. It's in the FDOT work plan.
Okay, so,
And I think we're close to
We're
getting that
trying,
easement.
we're negotiating with the owners of the property to the north.
Okay.
We're close to a deal.
Are we really?
Yes, sir.
Good, because I have an alternative if we aren't. Okay, good.
Anything else?
Thank you. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the timeline. I like that. Tell Jerry Debkowski to get on it.
Yeah, because I had a discussion on the timeline with Al the other day, and his timeline was very different.
No, it was the phase 3.
Okay.
Next is our city attorney. You have one item?
Yes, I do. I have the second final reading and public hearing of ordinance 2018-02. I'll read this long title for you. So, ordinance 2018-02, an ordinance of the city of Oldsmar, Florida, amending certain sections of the Town Center Development Code and Appendix A thereto, amending the reference to the Town Center Development Code to include code, amending the provisions for development approval to include that all building elevations, including all sides, dimensions, colors, sign locations, and materials must be submitted, requiring any development plan or other plans for single-family residential lots or duplex lots which request 3 or more variances from the code to apply for a development agreement, modifying the terms dwelling accessory, mixed use, and structure accessory under the code, as well as renaming the term dwelling row house to dwelling row house/townhome, and modifying the definition thereof, and adding impervious surface ratio, ISR, planning official, and setback railroad as definitions, amending the plan impact paragraphs of the land use and zoning article, requiring that all construction comply with all relevant sections of the Oldsmar Land Development Code concerning development in special flood hazard area, amending the plan unit development overlay district provisions of the code, amending the accessory dwellings provisions of the code, amending accessory structures within the Town Center Residential and Town Center Boulevard District provisions of the code, amending the permitted uses in the Town Center Residential District provisions of the code, amending the standards contained in the building regulations, single-family detached dwellings, and building regulations, row house dwellings tables, amending the standards contained in the Town Center Boulevard District TCB table, amending the permitted uses in the Town Center Commercial Neighborhood District, TCCN, adding places of worship as permitted use in both the Town Center Commercial Neighborhood, TCCN, and Town Center Commercial Residential, TCCR districts, amending the conditional uses of the Town Center Commercial Residential, TCCR district, amending the requirements for lot setbacks, amending the provisions for minimum off-street parking in the Town Center, amending the methods of providing required parking for off-site parking in the Town Center, relocating provisions for and establishing additional and supplementary guidelines for specific types within the Town Center, specific development types within the Town Center, amending the definition for TCCR St. Petersburg Drive East and Washington Avenue as it relates to the architectural and design pattern book, amending the definition for lot coverage and replacing it with impervious surface ratio under the provisions for building articulation, amending the definitions for on-street parking and fences as contained in the general streetscape standards, requiring that mechanical equipment not be located in the front of principal buildings, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2018-02 by title only, and it does require a public hearing.
So you don't want to read it a third time?
Remember now, back in the day, we used to have to read them 3 times.
Yeah.
So,
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. I need a motion.
so moved.
Second. Any discussion on this item? Nope.
Back in the day, you used to have to read the whole ordinance.
The whole thing.
right. That was before the 3 title readings.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that.
We have a motion and a second. If no other discussion, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sedell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Beaverland?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Second and final reading of ordinance 2018-02, amending the City of Oldsmar Town Center Development Code is passed and adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank
Thanks.
you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 10 is a request for council approval of an agreement between Florida Division of Emergency Management and the City of Oldsmar for a statewide alert and mass notification, program called Everbridge, which is in support of a statewide initiative known as Alert Florida. This functions like an interlocal agreement in that Pinellas County will be considered the customer. So long as the initiative is funded by the legislature, there will be no cost to the city. It could also possibly save us $5,000 because our current program is called Code Red that we use for emergency notifications. And assuming this continues, we will not need to continue with Code Red. And yes, as you and I discussed, the database is transferable, so we won't have to reinvent anything. The city attorney has reviewed this agreement and has no concerns about it. It's the same agreement that's presented to all other Pinellas County cities, and staff recommends approval.
Awesome. Is everybody else doing this, jumping on board?
Yes, sir. Dean, Mike Hurley, and I attended a training on this about 6 months ago. We've been actually after them to get it through the Pinellas County's process. It's got major horsepower. It'll have marketing uses. It'll kind of take over. I think it's part of the initiative on the county side is to draw everybody together so we're putting out the same message, or if there's something particular about our message, they know we're doing it, kind of thing. It should have a real positive effect on emergency notifications, but it doesn't have to be just for emergencies. We can use it for any mass notification issue we want to use it for. So it's got a lot of horsepower and a lot of potential.
And we can control our own messaging?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll send probably 3 or 4 people to train. So when Dean, Mike, and I went to look at the original presentation, they had the software guy from the company doing the training, and we had to leave. He was doing 4 hours, it was like, he had the stage and he was teaching us all about this program, and we were like, okay, that's nice, but we weren't here to do the actual training. It's very, very intense. I don't know, Dino, you want to add anything to that? I really appreciate that.
Still glazed over from that.
But like I said, it's no cost to us. It's part of a statewide initiative, but in spite of that, we still think it's probably a very good idea.
And what happens if the state doesn't fund it?
Well, then we probably go back to Code Red unless we fund it ourselves. But I would guess that the county's very interested in maintaining that. So while the county's kind of said they're the customer technically, that they could also step up and continue to fund it for us. But in the worst case scenario, we would be dividing the cost among the cities. And right now, that cost is 0. So I would say no circumstances it's going to be any more expensive than what we already pay Code Red.
When do we anticipate implementation, and will there be overlap with Code Red?
Well, there'll be overlap, but only because we decided not to wait for the county to get off the ground on this. So we paid the next year, which is the year we're in now, for Code Red, so we weren't lost without anything to use in the meantime, because the Code Red agreement expires in August, I think. We'll have the overlap in case we need it for something else. And yes, there's one other use that we use Code Red for that involves utility billing, robocalls for delinquent customers. But the overlap is not on purpose. It's just because you pay for Code Red upfront for a year, and it'll expire in August.
So we didn't want to fly without anything. So
no, we're fine. We have more horsepower than we need for now.
Cool.
Al, don't forget the main purpose is we can import the Code Red data into this new system, correct?
I did say that, yes, sir.
Need a motion?
I do need a motion. Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
When you were describing that course, it reminded us of the ethics course.
Oh, my
that
gosh.
we love to go to for 4 hours.
I was going to add an amendment to that, just to suggest that if it passes, that Gabby, with her background, be required to attend all the training. Really update the council and just,
Bring it home.
We aren't going to vote yes on that.
Thank you, sir. Item number 11 is a request council approval for the first 1-year extension of the Transportation and Stormwater Projects General Engineering Services Agreement between the City of Oldsmar and Jones Edmonds and Associates. The original agreement is 3 years old and expired recently. It also contains 2 1-year extensions. This would be the first of those 2 extensions possible. We're asking you to approve the first of those extensions at the same terms and conditions as the original, and staff recommends approval.
Quick question, if I understood you correctly, our current agreement with them expired?
Technically speaking, yes, it expired January something or 22nd or something.
This is a dumb question.
Yeah.
Maybe Can you, how do you extend a contract that's expired?
Well, we didn't use any of the services, so we're kind of saying, in other words, we couldn't have done anything under the old contract unless we had addressed it.
Right, we're going to retroactively date this back to January 20th.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to do it at a public meeting.
Right, no, that's fine.
So there's only 2 a month, so.
That's right, there are.
Yeah.
It's called transparency.
Yeah, no, I get it, I hear it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. 5-0, I think.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 12 is
My favorite.
unique. Yeah. We're asking for council approval to approve the location and installation of, this is no joke, the council chamber bat house project. I'm going to ask Assistant City Manager Felicia Donnelly to at least introduce the item and how we got here. I believe Alexis and Bryn might be also able to speak to the process that we got. We purchased a bat house.
When I first read this, I was certain that it was a reference to new council office space.
Yeah,
I
for the
was a
bat
little
crazy
thought, wow,
council
that's
members.
kind of strong.
Until you saw it.
It does have
I'm like,
potential.
Al, you've been here less than a couple months already.
Yeah, it's probably better, more appropriate for me, but we actually, for those people that may not know, we have bats, and we have bats in this building. We've had them for a long time. I don't think too many people have seen them. Mr. Beeblin certainly knows about this issue. For some crazy reason, all the way back to 2002, when we purchased the property next to City Hall, there was a South Trust Bank building. There were some in there. The fire station, the old fire station used to exist on the parking lot next door. No matter what metaphor you use, bats in the belfry or whatever, there's hundreds of bats in there. For some crazy reason, there are a significant number of bats in this area, and they are vital to the ecosystem, and that's about all I know about it. We purchased a bat house as a means by which we are going to try and relocate them from this building. It's all yours, Donnelly.
What else to say? We have about, we think, a colony of about 300 to 500 bats in the southwest corner of the building. We would like to extract them humanely and safely and provide them a new home. So there's no guarantee that they will move into their new home, but on the other hand, if we don't build them a new home, we extract them and they have less of a chance of survival after our talks with area bat experts. And it's because really when they go out for the night, they just stop them from entering back into their old house, and then the colony will disperse somewhere, and sometimes they don't find each other. So highly recommended from the sources that we asked that we try to provide a close proximity bat house. Now this is a certified bat house from Bat Conservation International. The cost estimate includes safe extraction. It's about, I think it's about $4,800 just to extract them. So the cost isn't in the house, it's the extraction, which we have to do regardless. If the bats don't like their new house, we won't know until we try it.
Yes, you will.
Hope so.
What if they still like their old house?
What if they just think you're getting another house?
Right.
A condo somewhere.
You do understand that this is our second bat house, right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
The first one is Jerry's.
I know where the bats come from.
Yeah.
The bat parents.
No, they came from the old South Trust Bank.
That's what he just said.
And we built a bat house. We built, I was mayor at the time, and we had a bat house built by volunteers, a beautiful, big, huge bat house, and they extracted them. And these are probably the descendants. They hired a group to extract the bats out of them and move them over to our bat house that stood where Oldsmar Cares is now. It was a beautiful bat house. And
Did they go? Did they go to the bat house?
Oh.
No.
No, they came to the building.
And
They wanted to come to the They like banks. When there's a bank building,
Whatever.
think about
And
it.
we put if you'll read my fourth book, there's about 10 pages in it that has pictures and tells the story of the bats. It's when Oldsmar went batty, and we moved the beautiful bat house down to the sewer plant. Hoping the bats would go.
In all
down there.
fairness, I think we've way overtalked this bat house, so.
Well, I will say that the city of Austin has capitalized on their bats, and thousands of people visit Austin to see the bats under Congress Avenue Bridge. Myself included, people stand on the side of this bridge and watch, which is just amazing. There's so many that it looks like water as they pour out underneath the bridge.
My next door neighbor,
Oh, my God.
they had a problem with bats. You could go at dusk, or really at dawn, I guess it was. You could go out behind the house, and as it just about got dark, the bats would leave their ceiling, or I guess up in the roof, and go right past my house to the pine trees on the other side. And if you sat there, if you weren't careful, if you were out there on the dock, you'd get hit by one. It's kind of creepy.
We have a lot of bats.
So bats taste a little like chicken. No, I'm just kidding.
You're gonna have to listen to another
Sorry.
one. We've
Sorry.
had bats in Oldsmar forever. My son came in our house. Yeah, you're gonna listen to it. Close your ears. Came in the house and handed me a bat when he came out of the clothesline.
I'm gonna hand you a bat.
They called me one time at City Hall and said, would you come down here real quick? So I went in the old council chambers, and guess what was hanging from the ceiling?
City manager. Sorry, I meant a bat. I meant a bat.
So I extracted the bats from the city council chamber.
I think we start signing all resolutions from the bat house.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in front of you.
Do we get a cool light or anything like Batman? Nothing?
Mr. Mayor, would you like a motion?
I'd like to know if this produces any revenue, 'cause since it's a house. Is it on our tax base?
Is it on the tax
Is it
rolls? That's a
anything?
good
Does
question.
anybody else have a bat story that they would like to share with us? You want to have a bat story or anything? No? I think we should charge the fire department since they came from your place, so. Wow, Mr. Talkative tonight. Yes, I do need a motion, please, quickly.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation and buy an Oldsmar bat house.
No, we've already bought it. We're approving the location is all. Which I don't know what happens if we don't approve it.
I'd make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
We send it back.
You return it.
I need a
And
second
I will
bat.
second that.
Okay, we have two bats. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
I have a quick question. Has anybody seen these bats?
No.
You have seen them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're all over the place.
Before council
No, I mean
meeting,
here. I mean fly out of here.
I'm going out there tonight and
We're
looking.
gonna do a council.
right at dusk, right while I'm waiting for council meeting, I've seen them fly out of the building.
Really?
Where do they go? Not to the bat
I
house?
don't know.
They go to eat at dusk. They go to eat the mosquitoes out of your backyard.
Oh, okay. I bet you never thought you'd be doing that presentation. You need to learn to delegate down to Alexis now, right? Yeah. Anything else?
No, thank God.
Up to bat next is the city clerk. Nothing. City council, scheduled a work session for town center code review. And what are our options? I forgot. 10.
I outlined four, but they might be problematic from the discussions I've had with council to this point. They're just suggestions, and I'm not necessarily glued to Fridays per se. I just thought those were Tuesday and Fridays on off meeting weeks in March. I know the vice mayor is out, or the 23rd, sir, is a problem. The 23rd is also the day for Oldsmar Days, but we were planning that in the morning, so I'm flexible. These were just suggestions.
I'm okay with the
We
first two.
we mean business on that 23rd as well. In the morning.
Okay, let's consider that one gone
Does
then.
anyone have an issue with the 9th or the 13th?
What was the 9th? Oh,
9th is.
I like the
Friday.
Tuesdays days just because we already kind of
Okay.
mentally do those days, so I'm good. What was it, the 13th or 27th? I'm good either one of those.
9th and 13th is okay with me. I just need a ride.
What about-
Someone needs to drive me.
What about the 13th and 27th? or 27th?
The 27th is okay, I just need someone to drive me.
You got a wife.
For you, wasn't it?
You live across the street.
End of month.
I'll pick you up.
We'll get you here.
Thank you, Eric.
We'll get you here.
Eric will pick me up.
Any issue with March
Good.
13th?
Either of the two earlier ones work for everybody?
No?
I don't have
You're
an
free?
Either of the two earlier ones are fine over here.
My schedule is not like
The
your
9th
schedule.
or the
The
13th?
13th, because you said a Tuesday. Is
It's
that okay?
13th, good with everybody? I just never know what's gonna happen on Friday.
13th is good with me,
Understood.
I put in.
13th is good, everybody? Seidel?
4 PM.
Put it in here. Yeah,
And finally, we'll go to Mr. Beevelin, because he's got the busy schedule.
I'm okay with that. He said he was
He's
good.
The 13th?
Yes, sir.
Looks fine.
That's good.
All right.
13th it is.
13th. Thank you.
Yes.
At what time?
Or
Yeah.
All right. Boom, boom, boom. Next is, let me get my calendar back up. Council Planning Conference, man, we're doing a lot of planning.
Uh-oh, that's the one I'm out of town.
Yes, sir. Again,
On the 27th.
purpose of that was,
27th is good.
I'd asked former Fire Chief Scott McGuff to moderate again, and he graciously accepted. I think he did a great job last year.
Good, yeah.
We purposely wanted to accelerate the timing of that, which I know several of you mentioned, felt like we just had one, so that we could dovetail it with our staff planning conference, which is what we normally do, in time to take all the results and incorporate them into the budget process. With these two dates, I know we have at least potentially problems for somebody on all of them. So again, I'm flexible, and Gabby, I think, suggested we don't necessarily have to go Friday. If we did a different day, that might be better for her. So
I have something on the 20th.
The 27th is Cisco's quarter end, so I know I won't be able to be gone all day. I suggested maybe Monday, the 23rd. I don't know how you guys feel
I'm
about
gone.
Mondays.
I come back the 25th.
What date, we're in April?
And if we have to go to May, we can go to May. I would just
I agree
prefer to
with
stay
you.
in April if we
How
could.
about
I
the
know we pushed-
26th?
I know we pushed it back last year, and it
was
did
late last
It
year.
was late, and it
Right.
did.
26th, no?
Day before quarter end.
All right.
Yeah, if I'm gone for that many
27th, we
hours.
also have We Mean Business again on the 27th, 20th. What about the Tuesday?
19th?
What about
Oh,
the
wait, Dan, when are you gone? What are your dates?
I'm leaving the 18th to the 25th.
the 18th to the 25th? What if we do the 10th on a Tuesday?
Or Monday, the 16th?
I'm not a huge Monday guy.
Well,
but
it's, the harder part for me is Mondays and Fridays are a bit easier because I
I
tend
thought
to
we were
work
talking about
from
April.
home.
Monday's the
We're talking
16th.
about April.
Did you
Monday
say
the
15th or 16th? Oh, I thought you said 15th.
Yeah. Mondays I usually work from home, so it's a bit easier sometimes too.
I can't do it on the 16th.
Remember, that one's an all day.
Good, April 10th.
What about April 10th? It's a Tuesday.
I can't on a Tuesday all day.
24th, you're gone, right? Thursday, when are you leaving?
I leave the 18th, I come back the 25th.
What about the 12th?
12th, I'm good.
12th of April?
12th or 13th.
I can't do it.
Thursday? 26th?
26th is good, Thursday, Gabby can't.
I mean, it's the day before quarter end.
How about 13th, Friday?
Did we have a problem with the 12th?
Lucky day.
When are you coming back on the 25th?
13th, Scott can't make it. That's why I bumped those two to the later ones.
When do you come back?
13th?
No, when do you come back on the 25th?
I don't know.
When's your staff planning?
I come back at,
Planning date?
like, I don't know what time, I don't
No,
have my
you-
flight.
What did we
yet.
say about the
Conference?
13th?
Yeah, I do.
13th is good.
Whatever we do.
13th, I think he's
Oh, Scott's out.
couldn't do it.
What about the 6th? Friday the 6th.
6th is good for me.
Hello?
I could do the 6th.
I
Is
could
it
do the
okay to
6th.
push it up that early?
Let me try that. Let's use that tentatively.
Okay.
I'm trying to coordinate this with the Florida Institute of Government for a location. But the 6th works for everybody?
Yep.
Works for me.
I tell you what, no,
He said no. Tough luck.
I can't be there.
Well, tough bet stuff.
Hoping to be at either
Good for you.
the Brooker Creek Education Center would be my goal, but locations, especially with that little notice, I might come back with you the few, but I don't know where it is right now, but we're shooting for the Brooker Creek Education Center, which we've used that
Yeah,
before.
that's always nice.
All right, so what I heard was April 6th.
Yeah.
We'll give that a whirl. Thank you very
I
much.
mean, it looks like everything else jacked up, so. Okay, April 6th.
Thank you, sir.
Comments by council members? Councilmember Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of things. One, I just kind of update on Tallahassee. I'm not going to spend a a lot of time talking about, because I know Dan was going to, he was up there with the league. I was up there with Leadership Pinellas, and we worked on some, essentially some of the same things. But we did have the opportunity to meet with Representative Grant while we were up there. We also had the opportunity to meet with some staff with Representative Peters' office. We were late, and Mr. We met with Representative Chris Latvala, and then also spent some time with staff with Senator Brandis. And, on a variety of the issues, specifically related to home rule. Got some insight, and also some of the proposals coming out of the CRC, the Charter Review Committee. And some of the things coming out of there to me are just scary. I don't even know why we have this committee every 10 years. But what's that?
It's required.
Yeah. Well, it's such a jump of power to be able to, this one committee can bypass all the signature requirements and everything else and just put something on the ballot to be voted on to change the Constitution in the state. Is insane. But some things like that, as it gets kind of closer, one of the things from an advocacy standpoint, like Proposal 13 and Proposal 95, and there's a couple of them, depending on if they have the legs, that some up there seem to think that they do. We've asked a lot of our citizens to come out. They're going to be having a road show, if you will, the committee itself. Well, not charter, it's Constitutional Review Committee, sorry. And the closest one to us is going to be in St. Petersburg, but some of the changes are pretty significant. I'm not going to go into all of them simply because they may die out. And so why stir the pot until it needs stirring? But it was a good trip. Our representatives are up there working hard for us. I will make a point of saying that Representative Grant has really gone above and beyond and trying to position us the best he can without having a partner on the Senate side. But Senator Brandis has really tried to step up for us. There are some appropriations that we've been tucked into, something that we were working on prior to the departure of Senator Latvala. However, some of that, because of the handoff, their involvement is later than they would have liked it to have been. It wasn't so much that we had anything late to them, it was a timing thing, and that was the essence of it. But it was a good trip up there, and a madhouse, as always, whenever you go up to Tallahassee. But there's just a quick comment on the Red Bulls being in town. I had the opportunity to go watch a couple practices, and was out there with the mayor when we had the youth soccer league, or Oldsmar Youth Soccer League, being able to interact with the team after they had their last practice. I'll tell you one of the things that I think is the most exciting about the start of something there, and the mayor spoke about it a little bit too, and that is, I was speaking to Coach John, who's the coach for Oldsmar soccer, and the opportunity, we already have someone who's a professional soccer player as a result of all this, who I think we got exposed to in the process, who is coming on to the team and putting on a clinic and so forth here locally. And some of the significance of, if we're able to align ourselves with the academy that the Red Bulls put on, could have some material impact on our kids.
Absolutely.
And not just in the sense of making them better soccer players, but in the sense of them maybe getting a better chance, or likely getting a better chance at getting a scholarship. And so it was really interesting when you really go through it, the ripple effect that opportunity gets created by us having them here. And so I think it's exciting for our kids. I have a question, and I know the answer is going to be you can't do that, and I expect it to come from Tom. But I have been asked by some of our citizens who have golf carts, who's asked me the question of, is there any way that we could propose some type of ordinance that would allow them to cross over Tampa Road
FDOT is not going to allow it. There's a process they go through. I know that we've tried to negotiate that deal for the city of Dunedin to cross over 580, and we have not been successful. However, there is a new District 7, there's more, District 7, what's his title?
Secretary, yeah.
Is being a little bit more responsive now, and so, I mean, now is the time to ask.
Well, I think we should consider putting that forward for our citizens. Not to be out there driving, going back north or east and west on Tampa Road or something like, but to cross over to get to the other side and go back to a city street. And perhaps even part of that is there's a couple of designated crossings that make it easier to go from city street to city street and as safe as possible. Any thoughts?
And to Tom's point, the new district secretary on the different boards that I'm on, the district secretary has been nothing but accommodating as far as communications. That doesn't mean that they would approve things, but from a communication standpoint, it's night and day from the previous district secretary. So, other things cross, bikes, and there's already an old man that already crossed.
I know crosses all the time.
He crosses at Racetrack Road, so.
Yeah.
Just cross on the Hillsborough County side, right? No, but I think it's a great idea. And maybe when you guys are talking to the DOT about, some of the improvements with Burbank and, maybe we float that.
The overpass. I mean, I know we said pedestrian overpass, but
Yeah.
just if there's an opportunity there,
That's
maybe.
pretty far off.
I mean, what would the next steps on that be if we were going to try to pursue it?
Well, it would be a memorandum of agreement, probably, and then ultimately an agreement that would provide for the crosswalk itself. Who's going to control the crosswalk? Who's going to install it? Who's going to pay for it? But that's where we'd have to have those discussions.
And all that, I also want to know what the reliability lies if the city of Oldsmar if somebody gets hit.
The answer is that I don't think that we would have any liability because we don't control that roadway.
Yeah.
Well, we're thinking about controlling the golf course.
But it's no different than pedestrians or bikes crossing them, I wouldn't think. Just, right?
Probably safer in a golf cart, but.
I voice that.
Sure.
I like the idea. I don't know how we move it forward, because you're talking about Tampa Road or 580 or both, because they split off, so you ultimately have to cross both at some point.
I'm talking about crossing over the
State roads, period.
road, basically. Whether it's we have a couple
Bayview.
of designated areas,
Like you
spots
could-
in particular, so it's not totally crazy. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's a good idea.
I like it.
You got development going on both sides. It probably lends itself to a more useful benefit for those who live on the north side of Tampa Road.
Cuts
I'd love
down
to be
on
able to come-
emissions for them to go on their golf cart to dinner versus getting in their car,
Right.
so. yeah.
Right. So is it an agenda item to suggest that we have someone go and pursue it? Is that the
I can
appropriate?
reach out to the secretary and see if there's a process and
And why
take it from there.
don't we do that before we put it on the agenda and get
Yeah.
into some of the other items?
The
That
tough
would
part I
probably-
see from the north side perspective would be, I'll use Bay Arbor as an example. If it's not at Bay Arbor, how do I go east or west to get to it without riding down the sidewalk? That would be
Good point.
that's where I would see the downside, Now, when you get down here a little bit closer, Bayview, you could zip across, because you can ride on can you ride on Bayview?
I don't think so. No.
Below on this,
We can look at the.
that's all right, that's all right.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Regardless, even if there's a couple areas that don't get included in the beginning,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's a
South of
start
Bayview. Yeah,
where maybe long-term, as we understand the impact of it, you look at some other areas potentially.
Across Tampa Road, then what are they gonna ride on?
Well, they would ride on, by the post office, they could cut down there,
Yeah.
They could go to the new barbecue joint back down Douglas, because that's our road, so.
It's worth to address the code then itself, because there are specific zones and areas that we
Okay.
allow it. And so you wouldn't want to allow them to cross in a
Sure.
location. It wouldn't be able to pick up those zones that you already have in place.
Correct. All right, so maybe we just start with a letter.
Yeah, just kind of dig into it and go from there. All right.
Okay.
That's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And just to your Red Bulls note, I was just reading their website today. Red Bulls add girls' youth team to the regional development school. So they're really continuing to reach out and grow their brand and the sport. So we'll see where that goes. There's a lot of work from our staff, I can tell you that, and thanks to
Yeah, they did
Alexis
terrific
and
work.
all the
Terrific
staff
work.
out there with the 3.5 inches of rain we got the one day, and I mean, they worked their butts off. You and I were out there when they were trenching and all that, so, but at any rate.
Warming up.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple things. I wanted to just mention what Eric mentioned about Tallahassee. I left January 29th. I went up for Legislation Days. It's the first time I attended that with the Suncoast League of Cities. They had over 200 city officials and youth councils that came this year. It was a record attendance, and they were advocating for home rule those 2 full days in Tallahassee. It was pretty a learning experience for me because, number one, I was with a group of people this time, where last year I was on my own a little bit and I was not really knowing what I was doing. But this year I was with the Suncoast League of Cities. Angela, who's the director of the Suncoast, she set up all the appointments for us. So we had a nonstop day, Tuesday, nonstop day, Wednesday, go, go, go. We met with Senator Jeff Brandis was the first appointment, went great. We also met with Chris Sprouse, House District 65. I met with Ben Diamond from House District 68 of St. Petersburg, and by the way, he said hello to you. I guess you know him.
I like Ben.
Yeah, he spoke very highly of you.
Thank
In the meeting, after the meeting we talked. We also met with Chris Latvala, House District 67 of Clearwater. And then we also met with James Grant for advocacy for home rule. I also had individual meetings with Senator Brandis and with James Grant. And my goal was to try to see if I can get any more funding for our Harbor Palms project. And basically was thanking them if there's anything they could do for us, for the city, to get any funding for that. So that went real well. And I learned a lot from that. And I also met with Eric up there. I had dinner with him with the Leadership Pinellas class of 2018, and met with Ed Hooper and Lee Hooper. It was very productive for me, and I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot. That's about it.
How did the meeting with Chris Sprouse go?
He actually was really listening to the Suncoast League of Cities about home rule. The CRA, he talked about that a little bit, but he understands where we're headed with that. And I think he is more in tune to help us than where before. He was kind of very negative when I met him last year about the CRA. And this year he was more listening and to our concerns. I don't think he was that bad. I really don't. I know he's...
I've heard different stories.
In this meeting with the Suncoast, there was approximately about 12 of us in there. He seemed fine. I didn't have a problem.
Well, and if there's anything to come of it, Corcoran, I saw the preliminary polls, is that he's like at the bottom of the polls for governor. So I know that's his aspiration, is to...
Well, I mean, Sproles will be speaker in 2020.
Right, correct. I know that.
So, yeah.
I wanted to meet with Crocker. We couldn't get in with him.
See, now, I asked Jamie to get us in there.
I know.
and He called me, and we were leaving town.
Oh,
Who called?
Representative Grant.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But, I mean,
The Suncoast tried to meet with him.
But
and
they're busy.
We couldn't get in.
Yeah.
We really tried.
It was I've been up there before quite a few times. It was unusual being up there not meeting with our senator.
I bet.
Yeah, it was strange.
A little strange.
The one thing about Ben Diamond, he was very intent with taking notes about our concerns about home rule, and he was, really concerned about what we were saying about CRA and different issues, and he really took interest of what we were talking
Good.
about.
He's new, so hopefully he hadn't been in the Kool-Aid batch. So he's a good guy. I served with him on the PSTA. He's an attorney, very knowledgeable guy. So, yeah.
And some of them, when we say the Kool-Aid thing, some of it is more a reflection of a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes where, and I've said this before, the House and the Senate have very different structures in the sense of the Senate is a lot less of a military type structure from top down.
Yeah.
It's very different in that way. And there's often, trading of relationships that are going on in the Senate side, back and forth, as where the House is more structured. And a lot of it, the direction comes from the Speaker. And so sometimes I think even the more effective representatives work to amend bills that are probably priorities of the Speaker to make them more palatable to all involved. It's just it's a strange structure when you really dig into it up there, and it's concerning at times, but
it is what it is. It's going on all over the country.
Yeah, it's going on all over the country, and we have some good folks up there who are
What's
carrying
really
our water.
what's really unique is you really only get 5 minutes. You are in that room, no matter how many people are in that room, you get 5, no more than 8 minutes, and you're done. The aide's knocking on doors saying, okay, next.
Yeah.
And when you walk into that lobby, there's a line of people. There was people doing fracking, trying to stop fracking. It was all different types of groups. It was very interesting.
Very dynamic place.
And I enjoyed it.
Councilmember McGee?
Wait, I got one more thing.
Oh, you said you had?
No, I got one more thing. 2 more, actually. I've been riding my bike daily through, trying to get ready for my surgery. I just wanted to tell you, there was 2 young ladies doing the artwork at Sheffield Park. They were actually getting the stencils on the ground, and they were starting to paint. So I just wanted to share that with you. Yeah, it looked really neat. And then congratulations to Cindy and your team. I just wanted to mention that. Congratulations, you guys. Good job. And that's it.
Councilmember?
Couple things. I want to thank Al. I had sent him an email, but publicly, for sending out kind of the advocacy update before Eric and Dan went up to Tallahassee. I really appreciated getting all of that information before you guys went up there. I don't remember receiving that previously, so I really appreciated that. I also wanted to congrats to you and Felicia and the entire team for getting the fields ready for the Red Bulls, and I know that was a big accomplishment. My oldest niece is a goalie for the Oldsmar soccer team here, so I know they're excited to be back on the fields here soon, and the new turf. So I think it was a win all around, and hopefully they'll be back. And I'd be remiss if we didn't wish Jeff a happy birthday, because he has a huge birthday coming up tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
How huge is it, Gabby?
I won't say, in case he doesn't want us to say it. But, and I know that his team didn't win the Super Bowl, so he didn't get his birthday wish. It's a rough week. But happy birthday to Jeff. This is a first. We'll give him a minute.
Councilmember Beeman? Nothing? Okay.
Is anybody going at Oldsmar Cares? Are you going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've got the
You don't have
Dan's gotta
tickets.
eat.
Get them quick. It's gonna be a great event. Hey, Doug?
Yeah, hold on.
Mayor?
Hold on a second. Yeah. What you got?
Everything okay?
Everything okay?
The girl that was in here a little while ago with Tony, got in a wreck at Tampa Road.
Oh,
Sounds
no.
like a little one,
She okay?
No,
Michelle did?
that's all,
I apologize.
that's all Tony said.
Oh, no.
So, she's still with us? Okay.
Michelle Carey.
Michelle Carey.
I don't know if there was a camera in there that they could.
Where at?
Tampa Road and Forest Lakes Boulevard. I said, yeah, there's one, but it's the county camera.
Which is not recorded.
And it doesn't record.
Right.
It doesn't record?
Nope.
We found that out when we went to the traffic thing, that they don't record because
But they might have been watching it, but I mean.
they what's interesting when I went, what they watch is they watch the queuing, so they don't ever really see the intersection. They're watching the queuing coming up, so. Well, that's although Tampa, which direction? Because there is a red light camera there.
You may know.
You got anything, Dee?
He's probably trying to find out right now.
I'm not sure.
Where she lives?
They were probably crossing.
That's there's there's a light there. There's the ADT or whatever, not ADT,
I'm
whatever.
not sure that's functioning.
I don't even know if the lights still go off. The
Cameras
reflectors
are,
still.
I believe the cameras are operating now.
Oh, they're not?
Red light cameras.
Yeah.
We're not paying for them.
Well, I know the flashes still go off though, so I didn't know if they were
More
recorded.
times.
I don't know.
Well,
Okay.
not that, no, I hope Michelle is okay.
Yes, we do.
To
Apologize
follow
for
with
that.
Tony.
That's okay. It irritates me when the phone rings anyway, but usually I turn it off. I apologize that I didn't turn it off.
Oh, come on, Mr. Technology. Mr. Technology.
That's all I have. I don't have anything else.
And can you keep us updated if you hear anything?
Yeah, could you call Tony in the morning?
Hmm?
Yeah, she can call Tony.
Okay, just let us know.
Send out a message.
I don't.
Do you know, Dean, was she transported?
I'm just texting the lieutenant.
Okay.
It did show my interviews on the call for a while, and I saw a caller already. There was that.
Okay.
Do you have a call for that?
Not anymore, not active anymore.
Anyway, just thank you all who you are.
That's it? No more bat stories or anything? They're not that big. What's funny is they did one out by the waste to energy plant when we went. Did you go? I don't know if you went with. Remember? And they,
and I went together.
Yeah, they had it. I mean, it was just a little teeny. I'm like, that thing fits 800 people? Man.
800 bats?
800 bats or something like
Yeah,
that?
not 800 people.
Not people, yeah.
They wouldn't fit in there.
Man, that's government housing at its finest.
Subs.
Hoping the bats was put in there, and I went down there one day and
Nothing, huh?
they destroyed the thing, and everybody scattered.
Draw a circle around it so we don't walk under that thing? You probably don't want to walk under it.
There's nothing there.
No? No, I'm talking about the one outside. When's that going in, the bat cave?
We don't know yet.
TBD.
Well,
Soon.
We're having a council extraction day.
Oh.
We have to schedule the extraction, so all of that has to be timed for safety. So
I think the proper question would be, is where are you gonna put it?
It's on the map. You had it, it's right outside.
In your front yard.
Yeah, at your
It's
house.
a big tourist attraction in Austin, so.
I
Put
love
it right.
Yeah.
See?
So I think it's right outside the door, pretty much.
Not a big bat guy.
Yeah, me neither. Okay.
You can put it in my yard, I would love it.
They'll never go down there. They'll stop at Gabby's house before they go to your house.
Probably so. My sister will love that.
Al, you got anything?
Good, thank you.
Ann? Speedy recovery to Kathy, and we're adjourned.